Okay, this is part two. And today, I believe today is the 6th of September 2025. So, my ministry is to open some eyes and ears of what's going on. I hope that if I even help one person, just one person, find some peace in their life, no matter what age they are in life, that you can finally have peace in dealing with it. Because I do know, never have, but I do know, based on the experience I had with my sisters and brothers, that childhood trauma caused a lot of alcoholism, drugs, turned them into also abusers themselves. And a lot of a lot of people have not dealt with that. So I'm going to go retro. I'm originally from Arizona. I now reside in California. I'm 64 years old. I've been in California for 60 years. That means I came out here when I was 4. Had what I call, well, I didn't know anything, but now that I hindsight and look back on it, a pretty decent life. My mom and dad were both married to one another. So I grew up until my mom died in a 2-parent household. My mother worked, and my dad, he worked also. Okay, fast forward. When I got into the 3rd grade, my mom took ill. When my mom took ill, she had hypertension, high blood pressure. Back in the days, they didn't have all the medication, that they have nowadays. And so she would have these nosebleeds. I remember. I was around about 5 years old. And I'm going to share something with you guys later on. That's some of the things that I remember. And I told my sister just recently about it. And she's 6 years older than me. And she said, "How do you remember that? You remember that?" I said, "Like it was yesterday." And at that time, I was 4. And I still remember. But anyway, going what I'm speaking of. So she ended up dying. And when she died, her sister, my father was devastated. Her sister came out for the funeral. And her sister asked my dad, "Let me take," because I come from a family of 18 brothers and sisters. I wasn't raised with all those because they were all grown by the time my mom's last 6 children was born. So 2 had already passed away, 1 at 9 months and 1 at about 2 years. I vaguely remember the 2-year-old, vaguely. But anyway, it was 4 of us left, 1 boy and 3 girls. So her sister asked my dad if she can take us back to Arizona to raise for him, because when my mom died, of course, he was devastated. That was the only woman he had known. So he was devastated. Didn't think nothing of it. A day after the funeral, we were packed up and shipped back with my aunt to Arizona. And that's when the nightmare began for us. My aunt had a little tiny house. She had 7 kids of her own. All the kids, all of the children slept in one room. I won't even be consider it a room because it had no door. It had a curtain up. There was no rooms that we see called bedrooms nowadays. There was none of that. There was 2 beds in there, and I think they were like twin beds, and then 1 rollaway bed. Now keep in mind, 7 plus 4 is 11. Well, I take that back. One of the children was already gone. So 6.4 is 10 children. There were several older than me. As I stated, I was 8 years old. My little sister under me, she was 5. My brother ahead of me, he was 11. My oldest sister, she was 13, almost 14 years old. I didn't know what sex was, the body parts, because back then we didn't have sex education classes, home ec. We had home ec, but they didn't talk about sex. So You know, I was a little flat-chested thing. Nothing desirable. Flat, no pubic hair. Yeah, I'm gonna get a little rough with you guys. None of that. So for a grown man to find me appeasing to him was a sickness. So I had no idea. When I was first touched, I was touched by a cousin. Didn't know anything. He locked all the other kids out the house, left me in the house. I was 9 at that time. And he pulled my pants off and my panties off. Of course, like I said, I told y'all the year, 69, 70. Think about it, back in those days. I didn't know what that was. Not at all. So I laid there. He fumbling me, rubbing me. And I knew it didn't feel right. I knew that this don't seem right. What is this about? I didn't know. And after he finished, he went on, wiped me off with a towel, and told me to put my clothes on. I went outside and played with Barbies. Didn't know anything. Finally, when I got around about, it kept happening. It didn't stop. It kept happening. So finally, one day, I went to his mother, which is my auntie. And I'm not going to mention any names because he have kids and grandkids now. He's deceased. But he does have family, lots of family still, listening. I mean, not listening, but, well, if they find out, they already know because I already expressed certain things to certain family members. They don't like it, but this is my ministry. This is my life, and I'm going to tell the story. So anyway, I went to my aunt, and I said, Auntie, I said, such and such took all my clothes off and rubbed his pee-pee, because we didn't know the words that they use now, on me. And some white stuff came out of my stomach. She looked at me, grabbed me, yanked me by the arm, slapped me in my face and said, don't you ever let me hear you say that and tell nobody else that in your life. Period. Now, back then, we was taught to listen to our adults, our elders. So it kept happening. It kept happening. Then, it wasn't enough. He got his little pedophile friends. And keep in mind, I'm about 9, 10 at this time. And they would take turns doing this to me. I would cry myself to sleep. I would be so angry with my mom, who was, resting above. And I'd say, Mom, I hate you. Why do you leave me here with these people? Again, did not know what it was about. Did not know, but I knew it wasn't right. I had no recourses. I couldn't call my father in Arizona. California. I had nobody to call. Nobody. Then one day I told my older sister, and she said, it's been happening to me for a long time. I'm used to it. Yeah, it was a shock to me. It was a shock to me. So my concern was, I had a brother. My brother was 2 years older. I had a younger sister. And I definitely didn't want that to happen to them at all. I didn't want that to happen to either one of them, and didn't know. But since my older sister said it had been happening to her for years, I figured that, my brother's next. He's a boy. He's 2 years older than me. Perhaps it has happened to him. But these were unspoken things you didn't speak about. You could not speak about it. You just had to deal with it. And like I said, his friends. At that time, I think he probably was about 18, 19. And his friend, since he's a friend and they went to school together, I'm thinking he's probably about that age. So yeah, we were being tag team. Thank God it was no penetration, because I was too young to be penetrated. But I'll say this. Here step in an uncle. Yeah, an uncle. He's now deceased. So I had 3 adult males victimizing me and my sisters. We didn't know anything about what was happening to my younger sister because I think at that time she's probably about 6, maybe 7. But she was all withdrawn anyway because of the death of my mom. So she wasn't one of those that really spoke out. You would always find her in the corner. And keep in mind, psychologically, as a child, I was not a doctor. I could not analyze her to see why she was so withdrawn. All I could assume is because of the death of my mother. I later found out in my 20s she was being victimized as well. I'm going to stop here for today, put this on YouTube, and I'll continue. You guys take care. Have a nice day.